Welcome to Rationality, Reason, and Reality. I'm Supernova. The last episode I did went over a couple of logical fallacies, that is, mistakes in logical argument, that had to do with attacking the source rather than the argument itself. And to beat a dead horse, today I'm going to go over three more that do the exact same thing, attacking the source rather than the argument. Now, I know this is a bit repetitive, but I've seen this so many times. Almost everybody is guilty of it. And so I really want to get this across. If you're arguing with somebody and your brother gives you an argument and your sister gives you the identical argument and you only consider it valid when it comes from one of them, you're doing logic wrong. You should only consider the argument before you and the evidence for it and the form of the argument rather than the source. It literally doesn't matter who it comes from. Now, the first fallacy I'm going over today is a form of ad hominem called Quoque, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I heard it on audiobook, but I'm not even sure that the author got it right. Ad hominem is Latin for to the person, and Quoque means you also. It basically says, I'm not going to listen to your argument because you're a hypocrite. If somebody tells you you ought not to steal, it does not matter if that person is a thief. In fact, it kind of works in the opposite direction. If somebody is a thief and they tell you not to steal, they're probably an expert on the downsides of stealing. So they have a bit more credibility. But all the same, it doesn't matter if a thief is telling you not to steal or a non-thief. What matters is the evidence that they present for why you ought not to steal. Now, one of the Christian arguments we hear along this vein is when we tell people that you ought not to believe things on faith because we prefer things like evidence to blind trust. We often hear, do you have faith in your wife? Now, besides being equivocation, that is using two definitions of the same word, a fallacy that I'll go over in the future, it's also a Quoque argument. It literally doesn't matter if I have faith as well. If we both believe in things on faith, then we're both wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. It's quite possible that we're both mistaken. But it doesn't stop you from being mistaken for believing in things on faith. The second fallacy that I want to go over today is called ad hominem circumstantial. It's basically discrediting somebody because of their bias. Now, bias matters, and you ought to be aware of bias and point it out when you see it. But people who have bias can still make good arguments. If, for instance, a Christian dismisses your argument because you're an atheist, and they say, well, of course you're arguing against God. You're an atheist. Well, of course you're arguing for things that you believe in. Everybody does that. But it doesn't matter. Your bias against God has nothing to do with whether you're right or not. We often hear that atheists hate God. I don't think it's true, because I think you'd have to believe in God to hate him. But even if it were true, who cares? Okay, I hate God. I'm still making a valid argument. Please stick to the argument. Now, the third one that I'm going to cover is called the genetic fallacy. It comes from the same root as the word Genesis. It means beginning. The genetic fallacy attacks the source of an argument, basically like the root source where it first came from. We often hear this when we're talking about evolution. Christians refer to it more often as Darwinism because they want to hang it on Darwin. They try and make it sound like if you can discredit Darwin, then you've discredited evolution. Well, he may be the source of the belief. He may have been the one who discovered natural selection, but so have many scientists after him. And even if he was the only one, it does not matter who it came from. It does not matter what the source of an argument is. When we hear things like Darwin believed God on his deathbed, or that he himself didn't believe in evolution in his older years, besides not being true, it doesn't matter. Darwin doesn't have to believe in it. It does not matter where the argument for evolution came from. It only matters whether evolution is valid and true. I hope you gain something from this, and really I hope you learn how to argue against other people and not the source of the argument. I'll have some more fallacies for you tomorrow. Peace.